warm good morning to one and all. That's great. Okay, we would like to welcome each one of you to the second edition of India Analytics and Big Data Summit. I am Arjun, and I handle the marketing initiatives and corporate relations with Unicom, and have been associated with this organization for the last couple of years. Last year, we did the same event around the same time by the name India Big Data Week. Some of you might have attended the event. Well, this time around, this would be the second edition. And this time, what we have planned to do is we're going to have two tracks. That is, we will be starting off with the first presentation, followed by a panel discussion, after which we would break for tea, followed by the entire session splits into two tracks. One would be the technology track, while the other would be the analytics track. So before we could proceed any further, I would like to give you a brief introduction about what Unicom is all about and what has been our journey so far. Well, Unicom as a brand, we are a global conference company, a B2B brand in the space of IT when it comes to knowledge share. And also, the spaces under which we operate includes lead generation, workshops, trainings and certifications, and conferences being our biggest line of business. Having said that, we have organized about 150 conferences for the calendar year 2014, and we have launched conferences in about 8 countries where we are operational currently. And we intend opening up markets in South America, Japan, as well as the Philippines. Having said that, I'll just take you through a couple of slides which will give you a perspective into what we do, followed by we can have the first presentation for the day. Right. So as I mentioned, we are a B2B brand in customer reach and knowledge share for the IT industry. And we do have 2 registered offices, one in India, one in the UK. And some of the spaces in which we operate includes market and industry research, lead generation, of course, conferences and trainings and certification programs. Now, having said that, in terms of the kind of conferences we organize, there are 2 formats. One is we organize conferences around emerging technologies. Of course, we have analytics and big data, we have cloud, we have UX, UI design, Internet of Things, so on and so forth. And the next being process innovation, where we have Agile, DevOps, next generation testing, programming, quality, performance management, and so on. I also did mention about the geographic reach that we have. As of now, we have done conferences successfully in 8 countries, and we plan to expand that to 3 other countries. Right? So through our conferences, what are we trying to achieve? Because we not only do conferences, but we also organize an extended feature called contests, which is happening in the neighboring auditorium. So here what happens is we bring together under one roof buy-side companies, sell-side companies, delegates which range from the practitioner level all the way to the C level. And of course, they are nominated by their respective HR and their L&D teams. So we want maximized participation. So I would invite each and every one of you to make the session as interactionistic as possible, for which we have lined up a lot of subject matter experts. And we would also like to thank our sponsors, Intel, India Analytics Magazine, Blob City, and apart from that, we have Breathing Room that has come in as a workspace partner. So that's pretty much what Unicom is all about, and I definitely do hope that you have certain key takeaways towards the end of today. And with that said, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Dinesh Kumar, who happens to be the Professor of Analytics for IIM Bangalore. And he's going to cover a case study which is very interesting, from masala dosa to Bollywood. So can we have you, sir?
Okay, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to talk about few cases that we did on analytics. So we written about 20 cases, and there are a few in the pipeline. And most of these cases are actually published at Harvard Business Publishing portal as case studies. Uh, so I have picked up few cases from different industry. I hope you like these cases. Before I start, we have to understand why we need analytics, right? So the primary objective of analytics is to actually help people take decision or solve problem. And when you try to take decision or solve problem, there are certain information which is needed. So all we are trying to do is ensure that whatever decision you are taking, either at a personal level or professional level, it turn out to be the right decision. So let me start off with this video. Hope that video will work because it was analytics. The primary objective is obviously to help people to take right decision. So let us watch this video and see what I mean by that. Okay. Unfortunately, the audio is not coming, but you'll understand, what the video is trying to communicate. Okay. So if you look at analytics, it's all about predicting future and take decision based on your predictions. I'm going to take you through 4 or 5 case studies depending on the time available. The first one is a case study on dosa. What happened? So this was a case which, there was a person called Narayanan. He lives in Chennai, and in 1992 he had an idea. His idea was to come up with an automatic dosa making machine. Okay, and at that time India didn't have any highly sophisticated food processing systems. Probably we had coffee vending machine. Apart from that, there was no automated systems. So why he came up with this idea? The reason was, according to him, his research, he found that dosa was one of the most popular dishes which are eaten across India, but still there was a lot of kind of heterogeneity in the form of the taste, size, the crispiness, all that differed from restaurant to restaurant. So he thought that if we can come up with a machine which can standardize this dosa making process, then there will be a lot of demand. So when he started this idea, he thought there will be huge demand, and he would have a franchisee of about 5,000 across India. Okay, so that was his idea, and he started a company called Indian Foods and Fermentation Limited. Now, one problem Narayanan faced immediately was that he didn't have sufficient fund. So he approached a bank, VC, basically a venture capitalist, and asked for a few crores. And here the venture capitalist has to take a decision, right? How they can actually come up with the right decision. Okay? So here we are looking at a scenario where somebody is asking for fund, right? And the bank has to take a decision whether to fund this project or not. So there are benefits if it becomes a successful project, but of course, if it becomes a failure or if it fails, the bank is going to lose most of what they invest in this particular venture, right? Analytics is about decision making. And later on, when we go through a few more cases, when you try to arrive at a decision, you will see that there are a large number of problems that they will encounter. So if I ask a question about this particular case, how many of you would fund this project? How many of you think that it's a great idea? We need automatic dosa making machine. If you are a venture capitalist, do you invest in this or fund this project? Please raise your hands. Okay, only about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You will not fund this? Rest. Okay. Why? What is wrong with this idea? Is there anything wrong with this idea? It is not a? Okay. Fine. That was his opinion versus your opinion, right? So many times the decisions are taken based on people's opinion. Okay, what do you think is the most popular snack? So I can just tell him so that he can come up with something for that, right? But you're talking about 1992, right? So there were no Burger Kings and McDonald's in this country. So probably at that time it was the most popular snack. So we are going back almost 20 years in history. Now the bank took a decision to fund this project. So he got the money, right? Now he has to go and implement. Now while he was doing, he came up with, or he basically took some decision, right? So some of his decisions were, I just listed two, is to come up with an automatic dosa making machine which will deliver dosa at 30-second interval with uniform weight, crispiness, color, size, and taste, right? And also he wanted to deliver dosa in a convenient form, which is basically deliver vertically, right? So that people can hold like how people eat rolls, and it's, if you can hold dosa with the masala in it and also add sambar in it, hold it vertically and eat, right? That will be like that itself will be a magic, right? But that was his idea. So now you have to come up with a machine which will do all this, right? You actually take some of these decisions without realizing whether it's a right decision, right? Now, what problems you see in his statement of functional requirement? So this is basically the functional requirement for his system, right? So he says that it will deliver same size, same taste, same crispiness, and it should be delivered vertically, and if possible you also add masala, potato masala and sambar in it and give it as a roll. This is how he started the functional requirements, right? And then they went ahead, developed the machine, and they started 250 franchises across India, and about more than 100 in Bombay, few in Nagpur, Ahmedabad, and Chennai, right? But before they actually went to the market with the machine, they took large number of decisions, right? What you see here is, you may think that it is all about making the machine which will come up with dosa, right? But he realized it's not the dosa machine which is a problem, dosa batter was a problem. Why? Because one of his requirement was that you have to provide dosa which you taste. So you are talking about consistency of dosa taste, right? Unfortunately, in 1992, the dosa batter, or we didn't have many preservatives like what we have today. So dosa batter by nature is a fermenting stuff. So once it starts fermenting, the taste will change every hour, right? So his challenge became dosa batter rather than the dosa machine, right? And he never realized that dosa batter is going to be the major problem than the dosa machine. So instead of putting his entire effort on dosa machine, he was running around to fix the dosa batter related problem. Sambar, same issue, right? Sambar, once it starts fermenting, the taste will change so fast, so it will completely taste differently from first 10 o'clock lot, and if you taste the same sambar after 4 hours, right? So these are some of the issues which he never anticipated he is likely to face, right? Now we are doing a postmortem analysis, but whether he could have anticipated this, or do we have a analytical tool which would have allowed us to anticipate these kind of problems? So the whole idea of analytics is that you predict what is likely to happen, right? And then prepare for it or prepare a solution for that. So is there anything which you could have done to predict all these problems? Remember, Narayanan's background was, he was a commerce graduate. He did his MBA from IIM Calcutta. He is a non-engineer trying to come up with a machine which was not there in India. And even though he was non-engineer, he was actually giving all the engineering solution, right? Is there a tool which he would have used? I guess many of you are, in analytics domain. Do you think consulted his mother? I don't know whether his mother paid him money, but I would ask, I never asked this, right? Or wife. But how mother or wife would have helped him in this? They would have said, okay, it's a fermenting process. You can't, control the taste is going to change. But that's fine, but what's the solution for it? Right? And remember, he got the funding from VC. And you have very stringent deadlines, and you have to meet those deadlines, right? So he is also taking all these decisions under time pressure. So where we go wrong is that there is a theory of bounded rationality which basically says that the problems are becoming complex, and there are many alternative solutions, and the time which is available for the decision making is very, very limited. So when you have a complex problem with several alternatives and you have very little time to take decision, you are likely to go wrong, right? You may not be taking the right decision. So that's the purpose of analytics. So what we did, it's unfair to compare the decision he took and then what we are talking about today, because that happened 20 years back and many of these technologies were not available, right? So we used several techniques to start with. And then it was trying to connect that. Probably if he had used these tools, he could have judged the problems he is likely to face in the future, right? And then probably could have changed most of the decisions they actually took. So tools like there is simple tool called Pew matrix. So Pew matrix is a technique which basically analyzes the ideas and then say whether the idea is a good idea or bad idea. Right? And CPOC, suppliers, inputs, process, output, customer, it's again a process mapping technique which will tell you what are the weaknesses or what are the problems you can face when you actually try to implement this idea. So it gives you a high level process map. Now one of the major reasons why this project failed was because the reliability of this machine, when they were actually designing, they set it as 30 days. Okay? So on average, the machine is supposed to fail once in 30 days. But this failed every 20 minutes, right? So imagine his original idea was to deliver those for every 30 seconds, right? And it was failing every 20 minutes. That means a mechanic has to come and fix it, right? In 1992, the mobile penetration was not much. So they had 40 mechanics in Bombay, traveling in local trains, trying to fix the failed machines, and you have hundreds of such machines. And imagine if each one of them is failing at a frequency of 20 minutes. Okay, so there are a lot of such problems one can face if we don't use or analyze the problem well in advance. But having said all this, it's unfair to blame them, because at that time many of these techniques were actually not popular. In fact, people were not even aware of things like Pew matrix and CPOC. So the importance of analytics is to arrive at a right decision. I'm going to move away from this story, and I'm going to talk about Akshay Patra. And everybody here know about Akshay Patra. And what we don't realize is the amount of analytics they have to use to solve many of those problems and take right decision. So this was actually published as a case study at Harvard Business Publishing about a couple of days back, and I see my student Srujana sitting here. She was one of the co-author of this case. Now, just to give you an introduction to Akshay Patra, if you are not aware, they started with a vision that no child in India should be deprived of education because of hunger. Today, they serve about 1.4, 1.3 was earlier data. They serve about 1.4 million meals every day. And 1.85 lakhs of meals is served in Bangalore alone. So they have 2 kitchens. And we looked at a kitchen in Kanakapura Road, which is called Vasantapura Kitchen. And the case is based on what we analyzed about that.